Michael Penix Jr., a guy that I've talked about a few times on this channel as a possible quarterback of the future for the Las Vegas Raiders. And while I have said in the past that I'm not sold on grabbing him at pick number 13, I do got to say that after watching his pro day and the fact that it has been reported unofficially that he ran a 4.46 40 in his pro day, makes me want to kind of maybe change my tune. I've even gone so far as to say that the Raiders should not trade up to grab a Michael Penix Jr., and we shouldn't even grab him at pick number 13, that we should instead go for a right tackle and then consider moving back into the first round and grabbing Michael Penix Jr. maybe at around pick 28 to 30. But after his pro day, I'm kind of questioning my own logic on that, and we're going to talk about that today and more on the Raider D podcast. All right, Raiders and Raiderettes, what is going on with Michael Penix Jr.? And the draft is only a few weeks away now. We are counting down the days to when the Raiders are going to let the entire world know, are we grabbing a quarterback of the future in the first round, or are we going to stick with Aiden O'Connell? Well, before we do that, we got to put the kids to bed. You know how we do. Got to thank today's sponsor of the channel, and that is Earth Elixir, owned and operated by a Raiders fan. And it is my favorite company because they offer the Tongat Ali and Fedosia aggressives, which has been proven clinically to raise your testosterone without the need of TRT or testosterone replacement therapy. This is all natural, no fillers, no fluff. You get what you pay for, and the kicker to boot, owned and operated by a Raiders lifetime fan. The link itself will save you an additional 15% just for the Raider D family. Is it going to be a blockbuster trade to move all the way up to pick number 3, for example, with the Patriots and grab a guy like Jaden Daniels? Or have the Raiders been doing something that is crazily genius and blowing a whole bunch of smoke about Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Drake May, and really our target is Michael Penix Jr., who, by the way, was the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy behind Jaden Daniels in the closest race for a Heisman Trophy since 2018. I mean, he barely just lost the Heisman Trophy to Jaden Daniels. Are the Raiders really looking at this kid as the real answer to who we are going to get if we're going to draft a quarterback in the first round? And I'm kind of starting to think that maybe Yeah, actually we are, because the Raiders have used one of their 30 slotted invites with Michael Penix Jr. Now, obviously, we also did the same thing with Jaden Daniels and Jordan Travis, and I think that after his pro day and the fact that we were there at the Senior Bowl and the reports coming back from the Senior Bowl is that the Raiders staff were highly impressed with Michael Penix Jr. They were very impressed with his mobility and the fact that he actually chose to run the 40 as well as the jump test at his pro day, showcasing the fact that those ACL tears in his knees are in fact a thing of the past, that he is, in fact, a mobile quarterback. And again, some of the scouts clocked him at 4.46 40. Now, others had him clocked just above a 4.5. But whatever it actually is, whatever his actual time is in the 40-yard dash, any quarterback that can run sub 4.6 is a mobile quarterback. And Michael Penix Jr. said it himself that he wanted to prove to teams that he can be a mobile quarterback, that he is athletic, that he has that tool in his tool belt going into the NFL, but he just didn't have to use it the way that he plays the game. He did not have to showcase his speed and athleticism because he was so dominant throwing the ball and getting rid of the ball quickly playing out of the pocket. So you literally could have a guy in Michael Penix Jr. who is actually better than Caleb Williams and will have a better career in the NFL than Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams is not great at throwing the ball in the pocket. And in the NFL, you have to be able to throw the ball in the pocket. But the way the game is changing, you also got to be able to get out of the pocket and scramble and extend plays with your legs. And Michael Penix Jr. just proved to the entire world that he can do just that if he needs to. He just hasn't had to use it. And so for me, I now have to reevaluate my own thoughts on Michael Penix Jr. and whether or not the Raiders will grab him at pick number 13 if he falls there, or if we'll jump ahead of Denver, who we know is also desperate for a quarterback, and make sure that we grab Michael Penix Jr. And if you're jumping ahead of Denver to grab Michael Penix Jr., it's not going to cost you anywhere near as much as it would cost you to jump up ahead all the way to pick number 3 to grab Jaden Daniels. Now, Jaden Daniels is still my favorite guy. Do not get me wrong. I am not saying Michael Penix Jr. is better than Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, is the superior quarterback coming out of college. But I also have to think that value-wise, Michael Penix Jr., despite being a lefty, and I have said this in the past that I do have an issue with him being a lefty, but that is manageable. Other teams have been able to manage it in the NFL and had success. So I'm going to go ahead and put that aside. My other issue with him was the injury history and the fact that he's been a pocket quarterback and not really a mobile quarterback in college. But the fact that he ran what he ran kind of makes me think maybe he's been hiding a secret weapon this entire time and he just exposed it to the world. And this is going to raise his stock. So I'm not even sure if now Michael Penix Jr. falls to the Raiders at pick 13. Now I'm kind of thinking that the Raiders would have to trade up to get him, because we would have to jump ahead of Denver to make sure that we could grab him. Because it's quite likely that you're looking at Caleb Williams, Drake May, and JD5 off the board, picks 1, 2, and 3. Even if Patriots trade out of pick 3, whoever's trading up will be trading up to get Jaden Daniels or Drake May. And then the next quarterbacks off of the board is what's going to be interesting. Who that's going to be. Is it going to be J.J. McCarthy or would it be Michael Penix Jr.? I think at this point it might be Michael Penix Jr. gets taken off the board simply because he proved that he is mobile. And he is by far the most NFL-ready arm talent that's coming out of college this year. So with all of that, I think the Raiders would have to move ahead and make sure that they were able to solidify grabbing Michael Penix Jr. Maybe you do that at like pick number 6. Who knows where you would have to move up to grab him at this point. I think it'll be a draft day decision, but I want to know your opinion on this, Raider Nation. Should we forego even trying to sell the farm to get Jaden Daniels, who is my favorite? But let's be honest, it's going to cost an arm and a leg to get him. And if he doesn't pan out, we've really set the entire team back by 3 to 5 years. Or should we do the more reasonable thing and hope that he lands, Michael Penix Jr., hope that he lands in our laps at pick number 13? Or do you trade up to pick number 6 through 10, jump ahead of Denver, and grab Michael Penix Jr.